In the small town of Harlow, Kentucky, where everyone knew everyone, there was a man nobody took seriously. His name was Davet. He drove a rusted 1998 Ford pickup truck. He wore faded jeans and the same brown jacket every winter. He worked at a small hardware store, stacking shelves, sweeping floors, earning $11 an hour. When people saw Davet, they saw a man going nowhere. His neighbors whispered about him. His old classmates pitied him. Even his own relatives at family dinners would shake their heads quietly and say, "Poor Davet. Such a shame. He had potential once." And Davet? He would just smile, nod, and go home. At home, behind the peeling paint of a rented house on Maple Street, lived Davet's small family. His wife, Linda, worked as a part-time school librarian. She was patient, wise, and never once made Davet feel small, even when the world did. Their daughter Emma was 10 years old, curious, sharp-eyed, and always asking questions Davet loved. "Dad, why do we never spend money on big things like other families?" Davet would pull her close and say, "Because, Emma, a diamond doesn't grow in sunlight. It grows deep underground, in the dark, under pressure. That's where we are right now. But we are growing." Emma didn't fully understand. But she remembered. What nobody in Harlow knew was what Davet did after 10 p.m. every single night. After Linda fell asleep. After Emma's goodnight kiss. After the house went quiet. Davet sat at his small wooden desk. And he studied. He read books on investing, library books, free e-books, borrowed copies. He studied the stock market. He learned about index funds, compound interest, real estate, small businesses. He didn't spend money on coffee shops. He didn't buy new clothes unless he had to. He didn't go on vacations. Every month, no matter how small the amount, he invested. $50 here. $120 there. Sometimes just $30. He never told anyone. Not even Linda, not at first. Because Davet had learned one powerful truth. When you tell people your plans before they happen, they give you their doubt instead of your dream. So he stayed quiet. And he kept moving. Year 1, Davet started investing in low-cost index funds. Small amounts. Consistent. Every single month without fail. Year 2, he started a tiny side hustle. He used his hardware store knowledge to offer small home repair services on weekends. He charged fairly. He worked honestly. Word spread quietly. Year 3, he saved enough to buy a small rundown property at the edge of town. A tiny duplex that nobody wanted. He fixed it with his own hands. He rented it out. Year 4, he bought another one. He never made one giant move. He never gambled everything on one bet. He took small risks. But he took many. And he took them steadily, like water carving through stone. While others waited for the perfect moment, Davet moved in the dark, quietly, without fanfare. It was a Thursday night in their 6th year. Linda came into the room and saw Davet staring at his screen, a portfolio page, numbers she didn't recognize. "Davet, what is all this?" He turned to her, took a slow breath, and showed her everything. The investments, the properties, the savings account, the business income. Linda's hand covered her mouth. "How long?" she whispered. 6 years, he said quietly. She looked at the screen, then at him. Tears in her eyes, not from sadness. From something else. Something deeper. "You carried all of this alone?" He shook his head. "No. You gave me peace at home. That was the foundation. I couldn't have built anything without that." That night, Linda became his partner in everything, not just in life, but in the plan. By year 7, Davet had quietly purchased 4 rental properties in Harlow. By year 8, he had opened a small hardware supply company, the very kind of business where he had once swept floors. By year 9, he hired 12 employees from the town, including people who had once pitied him. He still drove a simple car. He still dressed modestly. He never bragged. Never announced. But in a small town, you can't stay invisible forever. The day people realized the truth, it wasn't from a news article or a social media post. It was at the town's annual Founders' Day event. Davet stood up, quietly invited to speak, and announced that he was donating the town's new community library in his daughter Emma's name. The room went silent. The people who had whispered about poor Davet sat frozen. The man they had called a failure had become the most successful person in Harlow. Today, Emma studies business and finance at university, on a scholarship she earned herself. On her dorm room wall, she has a single handwritten note her father gave her the day she left home. It reads, "Don't rush to shine. Diamonds don't form in a day. Grow in the dark. Take small steps, but never stop taking them. And one day, the world will see the light you've been building all along." Dad. She reads it every morning. Davet didn't win the lottery. He didn't inherit wealth. He didn't take one giant leap and land on top. He took one small step. Then another. Then another. He said nothing. He worked quietly. He stayed humble when the world called him small. And then when the time was right, the world saw exactly who he was. A diamond. That grew in the dark. If Davet's story touched something in you, share it with one person who needs to hear it today. And remember, your story isn't over. It's just growing quietly, in the dark. Subscribe to the story of becoming rich, because every great life has a story worth telling.